So how often should you really be releasing music? Is there a minimum amount? Is there a maximum amount? Does it really impact your streams? Well, I'm going to discuss all of that and more in this video, so stick around. Are you finding that you're dropping an album, potentially even dropping singles every 6 months, and no one cares? No one's talking about it, or you're not alone. There are over 40,000 tracks being uploaded to Spotify every single day, and over 4 million tracks on Spotify have never even been streamed. Not even once. Now, we don't want you to be one of those 4 million. We don't want your music to never be heard. So what can be done about that? Well, the way you release music, the consistency of your releases is key now. So in this video, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to explain what the best release strategy is to get the most streams possible, to get the most fan engagement and ensure there's actual growth. And this isn't based on artists that have already blown up and are in the charts. This is based on work we've actually done with artists. We did this release strategy with an artist just last year. We pulled all of their music off of Spotify, re-released it in the way I'm going to explain, and this led to tons of Spotify and Apple editorial playlists. So they're now on millions of streams on both those platforms, national radio play, amazing media coverage, and eventually they were signed to a major label who they're still with today. This release strategy will guarantee that you're getting those listeners, you're getting those streams, you're really taking advantage of what's out there in the music industry right now. And make sure to stick around to the end because all of these tips work together. If you take a look at the past 2 years, the release strategies have been very innovative for some of the largest artists in the world. You had Ed Sheeran bringing back 2 singles in one, sort of like an A and a B side. And then you've got Billie Eilish who did more of a waterfall release, where she dropped singles continuously up into her album. But how are you meant to release music? These artists have already blown up. Does that impact you? Should you be doing a similar release strategy? Well, the most important thing to do is to deliver music consistently. Quality of the music and the consistency alongside the marketing strategy is absolutely everything. However, that release strategy is actually going to impact everything else. If you've got high quality music and you're marketing it well, but it's not released in the right way, then it still won't be heard. So let's discuss it. How do you release music? How often do you release it? And in what format? And I guarantee by the end of this video, you'll be thinking completely differently about your release strategy. You're competing for listening time. And the only way to get that listening time is to be consistent with high quality music. And this is a lot cheaper and a lot more time effective if you're releasing those as singles. Releasing singles has a huge list of benefits. So let's jump straight in with that. Firstly, you've got algorithms. When I talk about algorithms, I'm mainly speaking about Spotify because platforms such as Apple Music and Deezer are editorial led. So they have editors who are actually curating the playlist, whereas Spotify, a lot of their playlists are actually made by an algorithm. You no longer need contacts, you no longer need the money, you just need good quality music. To understand why Spotify is so great for single releases, you need to understand Spotify's algorithm. Spotify's algorithm is split up into 3 separate things: collaborative filtering, natural language processing, and raw audio analyzation. They sound like crazy long words, but I promise they're super simple. Collaborative filtering basically means judging how good the track is based on save rate, skip rate, how many people are adding it to their playlists. Natural language processing is just listening to the way you're speaking. So if you're a Spanish singer and you're singing in Spanish, they'll put you on playlists for people that listen to music that's Spanish. And then raw audio analyzation is looking more at the tempo, the melody, the key, the volume, and that's because they have certain playlists which do suit these things. So if a workout playlist, they're going to be looking at the tempo. But why does this matter for you? Well, you need to release thinking about these things. You want to have a high save rate, a low skip rate. You want to be putting it out to an audience that obviously listen to music in your language. And you need to ensure that you've actually kind of got the right key, the right tempo for the audience that you want. And the best way to do this is with singles. You can take advantage of that algorithm with every single release. When you have a new track, you can submit it to Spotify's editors via Spotify for Artists. You simply fill in a form, and we've done a full tutorial on this, which I'll make sure to link below. And the tutorial that we've done actually got an artist put on New Music Friday UK, so it's a really useful one. But you can submit that for every single track you have. However, if you're releasing an EP or an album, you can only submit 1 track to the editors. So you can't pitch any of the others. You've lost all opportunities to pitch, so only 1 song has got a shot. But if you have singles, you have a shot with every single release you have. Plus, if you get people to follow you on Spotify, your track immediately goes on their release radar. So again, you're reaching more people. So singles mean you're really taking advantage of that algorithm. You're going to reach more people. You can grow your fan base with every single release. If you're pitching to press, you're pitching to radio, you're doing social media advertising, all of those things are so much easier because a single doesn't take that much time for someone to consume. So if you're pitching it to press and they've never heard of you, they might give it a listen. But a full 40-minute album, That's a lot to ask from someone. Same with ads, just getting someone to click and go into a single, you're a lot more likely to pull them in. So every single release, you've got that full marketing strategy, you've got a way to reach a new audience, and that track can be used as part of your marketing. An album is, on average, 40 minutes? That's a lot of someone's time. You're competing to get someone's time. And now, in this day and age, you're competing with so many things. You're competing with someone scrolling on Twitter, them set on Netflix, going through TikTok for hours on end. So what makes you worth their time? As an artist, it can feel like you're providing something to your audience with the music. You're giving to them. However, in this day and age, you're taking their time. And I know that can sound really harsh because you're basically giving them to something for a very, very small fee, which is the stream money that you're getting. But at the end of the day, you are taking. So you need to ensure that that audience are dedicated enough to give you 40, 50 minutes of their time for a full project. And the best way to do that is to promote yourself with each single. Grow that audience with each one. So by the time you have that full project, they're already on board. It's all well and good for me to say you need to release singles, but how often? You should aim to be releasing singles every 2 to 3 months. And every time I say this to an artist, they're always quite surprised. They think that it's way too expensive to do that. They don't have the time to do that. However, if you have an album, which is 12 tracks long, you could release every single month if you wanted to. You grow your audience with each of those releases. You're pitching it to Spotify, you're pitching it to media. You'll see growth across all platforms if you're doing that, rather than releasing one album a year and it just falling on deaf ears. Even Charlie XCX, one of the biggest artists in the world, is doing this. She said to The Verge,
well, I think fans are hungry for content and for music from their favourite artists, and there's so much out there at the moment. You know, they can get whatever they want all the time, so everything's very like rapidly digested and people want more. So yeah, everything moves so much quicker.
People always want more, and your fans are always hungry for that content, so you have to provide it if you want to compete with these massive artists. Everything is now available at everyone's fingertips. Right now, I could go onto Spotify and I have millions of tracks to choose from. So why would I listen to yours? If you're consistently putting out high quality content, of course I'm going to. And that's the key thing here, high quality. There's no point being consistent if you're going to be consistently bad. High quality as often as you possibly can. But you also have the ability to play it by ear. Artists now have so much freedom. You can make music in your bedroom, or you can record a full album in the studio, and then you take it to a distributor, pay little money, and it's gonna go out to a huge audience. You have the freedom to play around with those release dates rather than having to take it to get printed and then try to get it in a CD store. That can take months and months and months. But now it's all done at the touch of a button. So play it by ear. Sort of gauge whether your audience are liking a release, and if they're really loving it and it's getting pushed out to more people, milk it. Don't release anything for a little bit and let that song grow as much as possible. But if you're finding a track's sort of flopped a little bit, it's not getting that much attention, jump straight in with the next one. I know I'm going to get a lot of comments from people saying that, oh, I need to sneeze. I know I'm going to get a lot of comments from people saying, albums are art, I want to tell my story, I know how I want to put out my music, and I'm in no way, shape or form saying don't do that. Albums do tell a story. They're something that an artist is very close to. However, it needs to be told in a slightly different way. You can still tell that story, but over a longer time. Drip feed that story to your audience with singles and then videos and content. And then by the time you've got that full project there, they're so invested. They understand that narrative. They feel like they're part of it. Take Billie Eilish, for example. She released around 16 singles and a full EP, all within 30 months. That's approximately one single every 60 days. That's a lot of content being put out there, and it worked. It grew her audience. And I know she had a team. She had a full group of people helping with that. But as an independent artist, you can definitely still do the same. Billie grew her audience over a long period of time. She used this waterfall strategy to ensure that her audience were growing, but also eager to hear the next track. At the beginning of this video, I spoke about an artist we got to pull all their music off Spotify and re-release. They released a single every single week for 7 weeks, and on the 8th week, they dropped a full EP. The results were absolutely phenomenal, and they're now signed to a major label. The reason I'm telling you this is because it's proof it works. It can be really difficult to hear as an artist because you've got this amazing product, so why squeeze it into a small amount of time or drip feed it? You want it to be given to your audience as this full product. But just think as the consumer always. And think about how you're spending your time and your money effectively. You have the ability to get streams overnight. You have the ability to put music out the click of a button. You're in a time where it's easier than ever to get an audience. And this release strategy will guarantee that. I'm interested to hear your thoughts though. Do you think this is the best release strategy? Have you released in a different way and found it worked also? Let me know in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this video at all, smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe and we'll see you in the next one.